Hey family, today's topic is love, and I'm curious, what do you guys think perfect love looks like, right? Like, we are called in the kingdom to be lovers, right? To love one another, to love God, to share love with the world, and to exhibit and be love. And so I'm curious, what do you guys think it looks like to radiate love? And from that to develop a sense of righteousness that is pleasing to God, but also not forsaking love, right? So the two scriptures I have for today are Matthew 5, and I'm a little hoarse, but Matthew 5 and 1 Corinthians 13. And I'm going to start with Matthew 5. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her, hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that the whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not thy whole body should be cast into hell. It hath been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery. Again ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. But let your communication be, yea, yes, nay, no. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor, and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father, which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father, which is in heaven, is perfect. And so when I think about perfection, when it comes to God, I think about perfect love, right? So that was Matthew 5, and we see there was a lot in there, but I wanted to read the whole thing because honestly the word speaks for itself, and you don't really need to try and exegete too much when it's clear what the word is saying. But when it comes to the topic of love, and how God sees love, I think he explains it very well in this chapter, Matthew 5, and how, he says, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, blessed are those who thirst after righteousness, blessed are those who are merciful, right? And so, blessed are the pure in heart. And then he goes on to tell us, even though the world says do this and do things this way, this is God's way. This is what perfect love looks like. And it comes to wrapping it up to love your enemies, bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. Pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, right? And that's perfect love, because God is merciful to us. God loves us. God cares for us. God is patient with us, right? And in our weaknesses and all that we do against God, God who is a holy God, who is a righteous God, who is a perfect God, He forgives us. He cares for us. He's patient with us. He doesn't, yes, we might face wrath and we might face temptation, but it's not of God. It's because we're drawn away of our own lusts. And when we're driven away of our own lusts, we open doors to the enemy, right? But when we are following God in perfect love and, we're being meek, we're loving those who hate us, we're praying for those who hate us, we're, caring for the poor. We aren't just saying the word, but we're actually doers of the word. We're following God's commandments. We're living righteously, right? And, that's a whole nother topic of what does it look like to live righteously, right? And how, I think a lot of people who are Christians, who are saints, think I'm saved and that's it, right? I'm saved and so I go to church and, I keep a certain appearance of what it looks like to be godly. But godliness is much more than tradition and ritual. But godliness is the act of being like God, of following after God, right? And God explains to us how to be like Him. And so He says, you hypocrites and you Pharisees, you publicans, right? Because we know of the Pharisees, we know of the publicans, that they spoke with their mouths, right? And they kept the law. They wanted to, do things on an outward appearance, but their hearts were far from God, right? And so we know God looks at the heart, and God sees what's on the inside of us, right? And so if our hearts are constantly wicked, or our thoughts are constantly wicked, or, even when someone is doing something against us and we find ourselves going in a loop of what we can do back to them, or, or gossiping about them, or even just treating them bad. All of that is not godly. It's not love. It's not meekness. It's not merciful, right? It's not God. So we have to constantly look at ourselves, check ourselves, and find whether or not we are living godly. Because guess what? The kingdom of heaven is open to those who are living according to how God the Father sees perfect righteousness, right? And so we can't say we have this one part. We have the Holy Ghost. We're saved and we speak in tongues, but we don't have love. And that's why I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 11 next, because the scriptures clearly tell us, it's not just one or the other, right? It cannot be just one or the other. And the Bible also tells us, if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. And so what does lukewarmness look like? It doesn't just look like, oh, you're sinning and you're going to the club and you're doing this and you're cursing and stuff. It's not just the outward sins that we can name, but it's also the inward sins, right? The ones like anger, and the ones like, jealousy and envy and gossiping and, manipulation and, other just evil thoughts, evil deeds that come from the heart, that show up in our everyday interactions and how we treat each other, how we relate to one another, how we, like I said, present ourselves in the world, right? And how do people see us, right? So, we might say, oh, I don't care how anybody looks at me, but as a saint, as a Christian, we should care how others see us, right? Because we're letting our light so shine. That's in Matthew 5. It literally says, I'm going to go back really quickly, but ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it gives light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So if somebody sees your works and sees how you're living and it presents a stumbling block to them, or it causes them to be angry, or it causes them to, have a different idea of what it looks like to live for God that's not godly, then you aren't shining your light and glorifying your Father which is in heaven. If somebody can point the finger and say, or if somebody's looking at you and saying, well, I don't want to be friends with this person because I see that they're a gossiper, or I don't want to be friends with this person because I see that, they have anger issues and I can't talk to them. Like, it's more than just living a life that's an outward appearance of godly. It's all about the inward man, right? Because we know that we're each the temple, right? Our bodies are the temple of God. And so we have to be presenting ourselves as a living sacrifice in all ways, not just in the way of thinking like I have the Holy Spirit and that's it, So I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 11. Sorry, not 1 Corinthians 11, 1 Corinthians 13. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. So first of all, what is charity? Charity is love. Okay, so just think whenever you hear charity, love. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, it is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. So, again, the word speaks for itself, right? So he's telling us, though you have tongues, though you prophesy, though all of these things, if you don't have love, you don't have anything, right? So we know that love is really important to God, right? Love is one of the highest things on the totem pole to God, period, right? And when Jesus came, what did he say? But no God, above God. That the two commandments that he reiterated was to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, but no other God above God. And to love thy neighbor as thyself. Why? Because love is so important. Love is the core of God, right? And so, think about it. It says, though I speak, now we're going to break it down. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tingling cymbal. So, though I speak in tongues, right? I speak in tongues spiritually. I have the Holy Spirit on the inside. Though, I speak with the tongues of men also, right? That's a spiritual gift when you can speak in tongues in different languages. But then you also have the gift of tongues, the Holy Ghost, and that's the tongues of angels, right? So though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, if I have not charity, it has become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. It's just noise. It's just noise. If you don't have love, it's all just noise. You're just making a loud noise. And it's disturbing. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. That's a lot. I have the gift of prophecy, so I can tell you what's happening tomorrow because God has revealed to me something and I share it. I understand all mysteries, so I'm like Solomon. I have wisdom and all knowledge. I have knowledge of all things. I understand the fabric of creation. I understand what's going on in the spiritual realm, in the physical realm. I understand all things. I have all faith. I trust. I believe in God. I believe that all things will come to pass. I have faith in God. I know that His word is true. So that I could remove mountains. So I have so much faith that I can just say, move to this mountain. Go. You gotta go, And I can do things like, push things to happen because I have faith, right? And I trust God. I'm saying, God, you said this, move this mountain out of my way so I can go forth and do this thing. I have faith. And have not charity, I am nothing. So I have all those things. But I don't have love. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. And I am nothing. I'm nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, so I'm doing all these good works. I'm giving food to the poor, and I'm talking to them, and I'm giving. Well, obviously talking to them is love, but yeah, I give things to the poor, right? But you can do that for show. You can do that just to feed your own ego. You can do that just to say you're doing something good, right? And though I give my body to be burned, that's big. Though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. So I might even go and die for some cause, whatever. But I don't have love. I don't know how to love people. I don't know how to love others. I don't know how to love myself. I don't know how to love God. I don't love as God sees love, not as we see love, as God sees love. It profiteth me nothing. It gets me nowhere. Nowhere. Charity suffereth long, and is and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up. It's not about me. It's not about me. Where does envy come from? Envy comes from if I think it's about me. And therefore, I'm envying what someone else has because I don't have it. So then my pride is in the way. My pride is saying, I deserve this. I should have this and da-da-da. Then it's jealousy also. All those things. It's puffed up. It becomes to a place where you think you deserve all this because of who you are, right? Like, I am this and I am that and da-da-da-da-da. So, that's not love. That's not charity, right? Charity suffereth long and is kind. What is kindness? Right? What is kindness? It's compassion. It's peace. It's caring for others in a real way. Like, kindness, being able to listen to someone, to hear their grievances and not even think once or twice about yourself in that moment. It's not about you. Right? When you can listen to someone in a selfless way, that makes you give up yourself. You're giving up yourself. Even if it offends you, right? Like, and we just had that in Matthew 5. If somebody offends you about what they say, you pray for them. You love them still. But love is being able to put yourself aside, to be able to lift up another person. So what? So what? It hurts what they say. Sometimes it's the truth and it hurts, and we don't want to hear the truth, and therefore that goes back to love too. If you can't hear the truth about yourself or how you make others feel, then you don't love yourself because you don't want to change, you don't want to evolve, right? And therefore you're not showing love to others because what? Our individual evolution, our individual ability to grow and to change also affects others. And that helps us to radiate love even more, right? So there's a multitude of ways to show love and to be love, to shine our light, right? Doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. That's hack too, because that's something I used to struggle with, right? Like, behaving unseemly, that could be like being driven to anger. So, or it could be anything. I mean, it really could be anything. Like, when you see people out in public yelling and causing a fit, or even throwing a tantrum, when we throw tantrums in our relationships with other people because we want to be seen or heard, or, we're seeking for attention, right? Like, it says, it does not behave unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked. Man, that's a good one. Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, like, that's one that I struggled with really hard. Like, allowing myself to just be provoked by things, by what people had to say, and maybe even like, I knew they were trying to provoke me, but still, I had no control, right? Like, had no control. I was not driven by love. So my reactions were hateful. My reactions were easy to provoke, right? Like, it was easy to provoke me to anger because it was easy to poke at me, to get to me, because I didn't have as the essence of love on the inside, right? I didn't love who I was. I didn't love myself. And therefore, I didn't love others. I couldn't see or have compassion for others who were also living in a perpetual cycle of self-hate and wrath and, those kinds of things, right? And not only that, when you're easily provoked, you end up feeding into calamity, right? So then you have an argument, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? And that's not love. No, I'm not saying that we don't have disagreements and we can't come to a place where sometimes we get upset, right? But just because we get upset doesn't mean we have to yell or scream. It doesn't mean that we have to hurt each other with our words. It doesn't mean that, we have to reach a place of aggressiveness, It could all be simple, really. Like, I've had pretty awesome disagreements, and just, it's peaceful, it's calm, because love is present, because compassion is present, because myself and the other person has done the work on the inside to then not be easily provoked. And even if the initial reaction was easily provoked, being able to see yourself in the moment and calm down and being like, you know what? No, I want to operate in love in this moment. I want to be peaceable in this moment. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the meek, right? So I want to turn the other cheek in this moment because I know that it's not about me, right? And so if I can come to a peaceable place with my brother, with my sister, with my mother, with my father, with my spouse, with my friend, that's what I'm going to do. That's love, right? So, yeah. It's not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. That's another thing. Thinking evil. So yes, thinketh no evil. So what does it look like to think no evil? Hey, little spider. So cute. What does it look like to think no evil, right? Like, the little baby spider is trying to go somewhere. I don't know where it's trying to go, but go this way. Here, I'm sorry. There you go. So, thinketh no evil. Man, is that one that I struggled with, y'all. That means putting away all the thoughts that you have that are like sinister. I mean, our minds go places, right? We know this. We know that our minds go places. I thank God that I've been delivered from most of that, through lots of what being put through the fire. But it was just like, for me, it was something that was detrimental, not just to my health, to my relationships, to my life trajectory, but also, and most importantly, when it came to my relationship with God, right? And therefore my relationship with self, because when God is the Spirit operating on the inside of you, then you have a loving relationship with self. But when you have evil that is constantly, operating in your mind, and, your soul is given over to things that are of this world, which is, run by the prince and the power of the air, which is Satan, then you're constantly thinking evil thoughts, right? You're constantly being infiltrated by things that are not of God. And that is also how you become easily provoked, right? Because even say someone offends you and you don't address it, right? Or you don't go to them in love and say, this is something that bothered me, and, I don't want to have this rift between us, but instead you're looping things over and over again in your mind about, how that person has offended you, then it might become how other people are offending you, because then you're looking at other people and saying that they must be doing the same thing that that person is doing. And then you're just having evil thoughts about how people treat you. You're having evil thoughts about what you can do back to them, or evil thoughts about how, if someone does this, then they don't know who I am. I might do this. Or it could even just be like thoughts that lead to depression, which are also evil thoughts. Constantly in a state of sadness and self-loathing. Those are evil thoughts. So think about it. Like, evil thoughts don't just have to be like projected at someone, something that is like, a direct evil, like I'm going to kill that person, right? No, it can be, an evil thought can be an angry thought, anger. It can be a manipulative thought. It can be a self-loathing thought. It can be a grudge or a vengeful thought. It can be, any thought that is not loving. That's the opposite of love. That's not of God, right? And then when we are in those thought loops, we're easily provoked. We're easily manipulated, not just by other people, but by the enemy. And guess what? The enemy will go and, provoke another person to provoke you. And so if we're not constantly in the mind state and the mindset of love, then, and compassion, and also godliness, we are blindsided. We're reactive instead of observing and being able to say, you know what? That's my brother. Let me pray for them. Whatever they're going through, whatever they're allowing to operate through them, I pray that it goes away. I pray that God, steps in and does what is needed, what they need to be healed from that thing. Or even being able to say, you know what, I see that this thing hurt me, what that person said. But in this moment, I'm not going to react. I'm going to take a moment to process how I feel. What are my real feelings about the thing, and then being able to communicate it in a way that's not pointing a finger, but that is saying, this was hurtful for me, and maybe you didn't mean to hurt me, or maybe it wasn't your intention to belittle me, or maybe it wasn't your intention to offend me, but it did. And I wanted to know how we can reconcile this, right? Or how we can come to a better place. Maybe even, sometimes people never come to being friends, or again, or maybe it's you realize the relationship or anything isn't for you, but that doesn't mean you can't operate in love, right? And so love perfects things, right? And so I remember when I finally came to a place of really understanding the concept of love, I was able to leave a relationship in such a peaceful way that I had never done before, because that person was operating in love and I was operating in love. And so we recognized that there was love in one another, and that because we were separating, it wasn't because we didn't that they were bad or I were bad. It was just because of the fact that, we were going in different directions, or we saw differently, or we had disagreements that, didn't line up necessarily or align with each of our values. And that's okay, right? When we recognize those things, we don't need to try and be buddy-buddy with everyone. But we can operate in love. We can continue to show love to that person. We can continue to be friendly to that person, because being friendly is just showing yourself as godly, right? Like, we are friends of God. Does God throw us away because we are, imperfect? No. Does God throw us away because we don't agree or even follow half of the things that God tells us to do? No, He loves us in spite of, right? Because He's a loving God. Yes, He chastises and corrects us, but still, we're loved, right? And we feel the love. We know that the love is there. And, we experience mercy and compassion and grace over and over and over again. So, that was verse 5. And then it says, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, right? And so, rejoicing in iniquity, sin and things that are not of God, rejoicing in things that are evil, right? That's rejoicing in iniquity. Rejoicing in the truth. So remember, I said the truth can hurt sometimes, but truth doesn't mean that there's the absence of love. Truth it's the opposite, actually. Truth means that there's the presence of love. So sometimes truth doesn't feel good all the time, but we can rejoice in truth because we know that we're changing and evolving. And when we change and evolve, what did I say? We are able to better love ourselves and one another. So we should rejoice in the truth. We should rejoice in the things that come forth and bring light to who we are, to our being, right? To who God is. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Yes, we endure, we hope, we love, we believe, right? And that also looks like giving people the benefit of the doubt, some of us are so quick to judge or to have our own, because we have our own thoughts of how someone is going to treat us based off of, how we treated them. That's a whole nother thing. Because sometimes we treat people wrongly, and then we think that because, we are now in a place of disagreement, that the person is going to also treat us the way that we just treated them. When that's assuming, right, that person is also vindictive and manipulative and not caring, doesn't have compassion. And so what does that do? That reflects how you actually are. That reflects what's in your heart, how you think, right? And then sometimes we project. We then project our feelings. We project who we are onto others. And when we do that, we put forth evil thoughts, right? We provoke people to do things that maybe they weren't going to do before. And we limit ourselves from experiencing the vastness of love, right? Because say you're upset at someone, or someone was upset at you and they've forgiven you, but you haven't given them the benefit of the doubt that they have forgiven you. And so then when they ask you to do something, or you question their motives, you question whether or not love is at the center, and maybe what they have to give or what they want to give is to reconcile. But because you've already projected your fear, your pain, your hurt, your own vindictiveness, or how you would have reacted onto them, then you miss out on the love and the ability to hope for something good, right? Hopeth all things, endureth all things, right? So you're missing out on being able to hope for the best, right? To see the best, to see with the eyes of love, right? Charity never faileth. Love never faileth. It literally never faileth. Love can never fail. When you operate in love, it always wins. I know that's a cliche, love always wins, but it's true. When you operate in love, you win every time. Every time. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. So all those things are not as important as love. For we know in part, the spider web. Oh, how are you making it web to my face? I don't even see the spider. Okay, for we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. So, when perfect love is present, those things that are done in part, which are not as important, done away with. It's perfect love that we're coming to, right? Through it all. That's what's going to last forever. And that's what also takes us into eternity with God. We cannot live eternally with God if love is not present. Period. If you do not have love, if you do not have charity, you can kiss eternity with God goodbye. Period. I say that with full and complete conviction and knowledge of God, understanding of God and of His Word, of who God is. God is love. You cannot exist eternally with God, who is love, if you have not love. Period. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. So, what are things that are childish, right? Provoking, throwing tantrums, being in anger, having behaviors that are not fixed, right? Like perpetual cycles of behaviors that you don't feel you need to change, right? Like continuing in living a life where you blame other people. I mean, that's childish, right? Like, or living a life where you feel like, the world is against you. Having thoughts constantly against yourself. But in all, I would say it's throwing a big tantrum, being a child. That's what children do. They throw tantrums. I mean, and most children, to me, children are loved, but childish things, which are things that are, not mature. So, yes, children know how to love, but when it comes to emotions and things like that, they might fail, where some of us who are mature, can do better because we understand better. And if those of us who are mature teach a child how to maturely, emote, then children pick up quickly. And I will say, like, they sometimes show us better how to be than we do. We can show them. But childish things are things that, we don't have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the understanding to then be able to act in correction, be correct, act in love all the time, or, peace all the time, right? So, childish things are things that, we don't have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the understanding to then be able to act in correction, be correct, act in love all the time, or, peace all the time, right? So, childish things are things that, we don't have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the understanding to then be able to act in correction, be correct, act in love all the time, right? So, we continue to act manipulative and throw tantrums and do things like that. So, but when we are not a child anymore, when we become a man, we have to put away those things, right? So, in order to operate in perfect love, we have to understand that we can no longer throw a tantrum. We can no longer be a child and be childish in our ways. No, God is calling us to love. God is calling us to be perfect in love like Him. He says, "Be ye holy, for I am holy," right? Seek after righteousness, right? Such is the kingdom of God. So we have to learn how to heal those things on the inside with the help of God, but also with the help of each other. You know, we can't say, "Oh, I'm above this, I'm above that," because we think we don't need any help because God is the only one helping us. Well, God sometimes sends us people. God also can tell you need, if you're listening, you need help here in this area, right? And so if God tells us we need help in an area, then we might need to seek help in that area, right? But sometimes, we say, "Oh, well, God is perfecting this part of me." And yes, God is perfecting this part of us. But we learn throughout the Bible that God does not require action from us, right? He does require us to do something. If He didn't, then we would literally be zombies. We wouldn't have choice or will or anything. We would be zombies. But no, we're not zombies. We are given authority. If we have dominion over, the earth, over the fish of the sea and the air, the grass and every living thing, every that creepeth upon the earth, then of course we have dominion and authority when it comes to ourselves too, right? And so if we have that, then we need to operate in that, right? We need to be responsible with that. What does responsibility look like? Being responsible means that you see yourself, you see where changes are needed, you see where things are needed. Yes, you pray and you ask God for to reform you, to change you, to deliver you, but you also seek action. You take action, right? So there are actions that we can take. And maybe you say, "Okay, I don't want to go to therapy." Well, then what else can you do to make sure that you're going in a direction that is loving, both self-loving, evolving and changing, so that you can also outwardly love, right? And become a better person, and also help bring fulfill the kingdom of God in this earth, right? That will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? So what does that look like? Love, complete and perfect love on earth as it is in heaven. How do we achieve it? How do we have perfect communion with God? Right? So, for now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. Right? So, love your neighbor. Love the person in front of you. Come face to face with love, right? When you know, you must act in part. You must do the part. You must fulfill the part. You cannot be irresponsible with what you know, right? And so we have a responsibility as saints, as Christians, as people of God, right? To love. For God is love, and for God so loved the world. And we, therefore, being made in His image, must also love too. I love you. I love you. And I'm so happy that God put this in my heart to share and speak, because it's something that grieves me within the world in general, but also in the church, from what I see, in relationships that I see, in relationships that I've had myself, it grieves me to see that, people don't understand the concept of love and therefore understand God, and what God is pleased with. So love your neighbor as yourself. And yes, love God with all your heart, your mind, your soul, your body, everything that you have. With everything. Love God. Okay,